Well, let's go ahead and get into our big topic, I suppose, here, and that is the Game Awards. There's always a lot of heat when these nominations get announced, but this year, there's a lot of fire out there.
So much.
It's kind of expected, I guess, with this many good releases this year. I think in terms of releases, it's probably the best damn year that I can remember. I know I hesitate to say the best year in gaming, considering, like, there's two halves of it. There's the releases, which yes, but then there's kind of the conditions of layoffs and everything. Like, that's maybe the worst year in gaming on that front. But in terms of releases, like, obviously a lot of games people are passionate about, and that's got people big mad at a lot of these nominations. Even though I think, like, why can't I bring up this list? I think as far as Game of the Year goes, there were 5 locks, and then the 6th spot, which ended up being Resident Evil, was a wild card to me. But, like, I thought the other 5, there was no way none of those were going to get nominated. Let me, if you didn't see,
say it again. You thought everything but Resident Evil would not get nominated?
No, would get nominated. I think there was no way those 5 were not going to be in there.
Oh.
They were locked.
Yeah. I totally misheard that. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah.
I'm trying to. I'm talking while I'm trying to pull this up, and maybe I'm not talking clearly. There it is. There's the list. Okay. It was, as far as Game of the Year goes, we'll go through, I'm not going to go through every single category, but we'll go through a couple of these and talk about basically what you think is going to win, and also any snubs or thoughts or just kind of general whatever you want to mention about it. Starting at the top, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man, Resident Evil 4, as mentioned, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Big snubs, and people are mad about Starfield, right? The Xbox tax and all that. Hunter, you're the biggest Starfield fan I know. Are you mad about this?
I'm not mad about it. I love Starfield. I think it's one of my favorite games of all time, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I really love it.
Wow, nice.
And I understand why it's not here though.
Yeah.
I do. It's got some issues for sure.
Yeah.
The only snub for Starfield I'll say is it's not nominated for the soundtrack or the score. Like that music is so good, and it's just not there at all.
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you on the score, like totally, because the score for that game, like, well, I didn't think it was like the best score ever. It felt iconic, I guess is the word I'm gonna say. Like it felt like it had an identity that wasn't just like being a good score. It actually felt like they wanted to make it sound like, I don't know, John Williams or something worked on it. And it had a style to it that made it stand out. And that was probably, to me, the only category I was like, why is that not there?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's just like, I don't understand why they wouldn't do it. Because it's just such a thoughtful and well done piece of music for a lot of that stuff.
What would you have swapped out, you think, if...
Honestly, I'm not sure. Because I'll be honest, those are strong contenders.
I made a case for Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I'd probably swap that out. But I totally get it. You're like, no.
I'm as far as like my personal Game of the Year, I can't decide between Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate. Those are my top 2. And I'm having.
But strictly speaking, soundtrack. Strictly speaking, soundtrack.
Oh, I'm sorry. I still thought we were talking about Game of the Year. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Hell no. Don't take Tears of the Kingdom out of that.
Okay.
If I had to pick one, it would probably be Zelda as well, because I feel like Breath of the Wild is the better soundtrack for Zelda.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of, yeah. Still good, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
As far as Game of the Year goes, Starfield is the one people are talking about. There's some people are talking about Hogwarts. Some people are talking about Final Fantasy 16. I would have liked to have seen Hi-Fi Rush in there. Honestly, as far as like Xbox games, people talk about the Xbox tax. I think Hi-Fi Rush had a better chance than Starfield. Neither one ended up making it. But any other I don't know. Is there anything in this list you think you would rather not be there? For me, it's RE4. I'll tell you that right now.
That's what it is for me, and I just want to say I totally agree on the Hi-Fi Rush thing, because Hi-Fi Rush was a more critically acclaimed game, but Starfield was the more mainstream game, so it's like, which one do you pick? But
absolutely.
And I'm with you on the RE4 thing, because So I just came off of a show kind of saying this, so there's gonna be a lot of things I'm kind of restating, but it's totally fine. But the way I put it there is I totally get people disagreeing with this. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with RE4 remake being eligible.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the weird part of it is just choosing it specifically in 2023. Because there's so many other choices that you could have gone for between potentially Hi-Fi Rush or Starfield, between Diablo 4, between Final Fantasy 16, so on and so forth, between Hogwarts Legacy. Like, there's so many potential. There was another indie game I've never even heard of, not Dave the Diver or anything. It's nominated. Like, it's literally not in any of the nominees. But I'm like, that's one of the highest reviewed games of the year. How come that wasn't nominated?
Is it
and
Videoverse?
RE4 remake got picked. So, what'd you say?
I was looking at the Open Critic list of best reviewed games.
Yeah, like Videoverse.
Yeah, Videoverse. I've never heard of it either, but that's super high up there.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's like, I don't know. Like, just in a year like this, I thought that was kind of the weird choice, personally.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, and Mario Wonder. I'm a little bit on the fence about Mario Wonder, but not like against it, but yeah.
It feels really soon for me.
Well, I mean, it has to be, right? Like, the awards are in December, and the big games usually come out in October, November.
That's nothing against it, because like I really love Alan Wake 2, as I'll talk about it when we get to it. But like, and that came out like a couple weeks ago. Like, it's just, for me, it feels weird to have these like really recent games.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Mario, and Alan Wake all came out within like 2 weeks of each other.
The past month. Yeah.
Mario Wonder is one of my contenders. I don't think it's going to win at the awards, but just on my personal list, I friggin' love Mario Wonder a lot.
Dope.
RE4, I completely agree. Like, that a remake should be eligible. All right, here's my hot take that's got to get everyone mad at me. But look, I'm not a survival horror game guy. I tried RE4 on the GameCube. I never thought it was as good as a lot of people think it is. That's just me. That's just me.
Wow. Just casually shitting on one of the best games ever made.
I know. Like, it always rates higher on those lists.
Well, but there's a difference. He's not saying it sucks. He's just saying he didn't like resonate with it. But
yeah, I get it.
It's not as great as you're all making it seem to be. Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm sure there's a lot of games that would rate high on my list that people would think I'm crazy for.
Sure.
Like, I think my favorite game of all time is Monster Hunter World, and a lot of people want to smack me when I say that, but
I don't think that's that crazy, honestly.
What's going to win here? Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah. No, it's Baldur's Gate. I think that's the game that's going to win. You look like you disagree.
I don't disagree. I think it'll probably be Baldur's Gate. I think so. But I definitely think Tears of the Kingdom is the easy runner-up. Like, easy runner-up.
100%, yeah.
And in that vein, I think it's tough because, like, they could easily both walk away with game direction and game of the year for very equal reasons. But, like, game direction specifically, both those games did something. Like, Zelda did one of my favorite things a video game can ever do, which is trust a player. Trust the player to do whatever the hell you want. We're going to give you the tools, to give you the basics of those tools. But from there on, this is kind of your experience. Like, go about it however you want to. And that's something that I relish when a game does, instead of kind of telling you all these places that you can go and what to do. And that's something I appreciate that Tears of the Kingdom, like, upgraded from Breath of the Wild for direction. And then the Baldur's Gate thing, like, this is a game that they literally refused to release. They early accessed it to hell and made sure it was exactly what they wanted, and they kept letting people play it and whatever until it was ready to go. And upon release, there's no microtransactions, there's no expansion, there's no, like, all these things. It was just a complete game because they crafted it that way, and they let their fans be a part of doing that. And I think, like, those are the two reasons why, like, if either of those games took game direction, I'd be happy. But I kind of would feel bad if they both, like, that winner also got Game of the Year. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
When Baldur's Gate came out, we talked a lot on this podcast how there's a lot of similarities between Baldur's Gate and Zelda from a wide angle lens about how they are just so open, and they both just have. They're both so.
And they feel finished. They feel finished.
No, they feel finished, but
Yep.
just in terms of how much choice there is on the players, as opposed to a lot of these, the Sony style of game. No disrespect, just not my style normally, where it is sometimes feels like you're on a roller coaster of their making. Baldur's Gate and Zelda are like, you're in control. You have all the options in the world. You do what you want to do. And I love that. That's my style of game. And Starfield's that way too, just maybe not on that tier.
Yeah.
When you get through the loading screen.
What's up?
When you get through the loading screen.
Yeah. We just talked about direction a little bit. It's the same list of nominees, just minus Resident Evil. And yeah, I agree. I would like to see between Baldur's Gate and Zelda, whichever one doesn't win Game of the Year. And I know.
Do you think there's a weak link here for direction? Do you think there's a weak link here for direction?
Well, I have not played either Spider-Man or Alan Wake.
Okay.
So between the three I've played, no. Wonder is, I guess in terms of gameplay, it's not that different from Mario's past, but the art style and just the vibe of the game is so refreshing compared to like the new Super Mario Brothers style that I think I would still leave it on there. But
I think Spider-Man 2 would probably be my weak link here.
Okay.
I think it's fine being there, but there's a part of me that wanted Cocoon on this list because I think that game was super freaking crazy with what it was doing in terms of game design specifically. And I was like, I know it's not going to be game direction, but I'd be kind of stoked if it was.
I know. From what I've seen, Cocoon's on my list to play actually probably over my Christmas break. And I know it's real short, so I should knock it out pretty quick. Even though
it is very short, yeah.
I get stumped at puzzle games often.
You probably won't want to play it then. You'll get stuck. I promise you, you'll get stuck.
I'm not afraid to look up a guide when I need to, but I want to give it a try for sure. It does just seem so outside the box, and especially from a debut game from that studio. I know they have experience being ex-Playdead people, but not as that team. Yeah, I wouldn't certainly wouldn't have minded that being on there. Hunter, you played Spider-Man. Do you think it belongs on there?
I think I kind of agree that it's kind of the weakest one out of all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad.
And I literally say
direction.
that the weakest. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Sure.
It's just the other games, they're a little bit more better directed, I'd say.
Yeah, but plus what I know of Spider-Man, and since you guys played it, tell me if I'm wrong, it does follow that Sony formula, and even the Spider-Man formula.
Kinda.
They've done 2 of these games already, and I don't think that doesn't do much to break away from that necessarily. It just does it really, really well, right?
It's very safe, I'd call it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, if Cocoon was on there instead of Spider-Man, I wouldn't be crying at all. Narrative, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Phantom Liberty, which actually I should have mentioned. I thought Phantom Liberty actually had a chance to be on the Game of the Year list, but that didn't happen either. Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. Again, I think this is going to be Baldur's Gate. Honestly, I think Baldur's Gate's going to win almost everything it's nominated for.
It's going to sweep. There's too many crazy fans.
I vastly disagree with that.
Okay.
You think it'll win over certain things for best multiplayer and for best score? And there was another one I forgot it.
Score probably not.
Probably not. No. Multiplayer definitely not. I don't see that happening.
There's some that you really like. You just gotta think like the category. Are they going to pick it because it's Baldur's Gate, or are they going to pick it because Baldur's Gate had the best this specifically? Yeah. So
we're gonna. I guess we'll talk about multiplayer later because I do have some thoughts on that.
I do too.
But as far as
I think Alan Wake 2 probably takes this one. Maybe. We'll see. But
Hunter, you said Baldur's Gate, right?
I want it to be Cyberpunk. I really do. I really do.
I wouldn't be shocked because Cyberpunk doesn't have. I guess there's ongoing, which we'll talk about that too.
I don't understand that at all.
We'll get there. But yeah, it doesn't have many other places it could get a trophy here. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it's Cyberpunk, but I still think Baldur's Gate. Art direction, Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Legend of Zelda, Lies of P, and Mario Wonder. I would like to see it be Hi-Fi Rush. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Mario Wonder because we talked about how much of a difference it is from that boring new Super Mario Brothers style. That like it is so refreshing compared to what we're used to with Mario. But I think
super great nominees. Super great nominees, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're a Liza P fan. Do you think that has a chance here?
No.
Okay. Let's see. We'll skip some of these. Oh, we should do score and music because we already talked about it, though. Alan Wake, Baldur's Gate, Final Fantasy, Hi-Fi, and Tears of the Kingdom. And yeah, when I read that out loud, now I do kind of think Tears of the Kingdom. I love the main theme, but other than that, yeah, maybe that doesn't quite belong.
Like, it's not a bad score, but just putting it amongst, I think that's the thing that, like, just to talk about with these is because we'll think of the winners potentially later or whatever, but just thinking about the nominees and thinking of, like, what were the 5 best this year?
Yeah.
And when I think of that, I'm like, I think Tears of the Kingdom has a fantastic soundtrack, but I'm just like, there's other things, though, that potentially could be in over it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So.
I'd really, one that is just not popular enough, but I would have liked to have seen on here is Bomber Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that would have been. I love that music, even though I haven't even played the game yet. But I've listened to the music a whole lot.
It's really.
I have
good.
one. Plan of Lana. I played that game, and I thought that game had a super such a film score that felt like I don't really hear in games. It felt like that was another one that felt like John Williams was behind the whole thing, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like I really dug that score, so I didn't expect to see it, but I was like, that would have been cool.
I kind of forgot about Playing Aloud until you mentioned it. Now there's some of these indie categories. I'm surprised. Well,
Yeah.
those are pretty strong too. Those I don't know.
Yeah.
Audio design. We can skip audio design. I think Hi-Fi Rush, in my opinion. I don't know. Performance though. Idris Elba in Cyberpunk. Oh boy, Melanie Laborde. As we've established, I'm not great with names today. Yuri Lowenthal, Cameron Monaghan in Jedi Survivor, Neil Newbon in as Asterion in Baldur's Gate, and Ben Starr in Final Fantasy.
I've heard a lot of greatness about Ben Starr all
great.
year. Yeah. And I think that was the only lock here I knew, and everybody else I was like, oh,
right,
that all makes sense, kind of a thing. I was kind of rooting for Yuri to be on here, but I think this whole thing, I'm like, yeah, this all makes sense. I'm cool with it.
Asterion is not my personal favorite character in Baldur's Gate.
He's not. Everyone's gonna hate me too, but he's not mine either.
I would rather have Shadowheart. I don't know the name of her actress, but whoever plays Shadowheart,
she's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously, a big celebrity like Idris Elba always has just like a name recognition thing. Some people might just say, "Oh, I know that guy," and click him. But Ben Starr, yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about him, both how great he is, and also like he's really active on Twitter, like with the gaming community. I know he does a lot of stuff with like Giant Bomb, and I think he's done stuff kind of funny. Like he's become everyone's friend. I don't mean that as like a he's sucking up or anything, but I just mean like people like him, right? So that'll I think you're probably right. It'll be Ben Starr, because I also don't see many other places for Final Fantasy to get awarded here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really
there's
like that
there's
game.
one category we'll get to that I'm very shocked it wasn't in, but yeah.
I heard you mention that on the other show. Yeah, we'll get to that. Independent game. We just talked about Planet of Lana not being on here, but what is Cocoon, Dave the Diver? Hold on a minute on that one. Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I completely forgot about Viewfinder, by the way.
Dude, so did I. When I saw the nominees, I was like, oh my god, Viewfinder. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Dave the Diver, though, a lot of controversy here because
not there.
It's not an indie game, technically. It is Nexon. Is it Nexon or NetEase? Nexon owns the studio, put money into it, and so it's not an independent game, but it's not the first one to that this has happened to. Like, people call Ori an independent game, and it's not. Although I didn't get nominated at the Game Awards, in fairness, but it seems like independent or an indie game at this point has just become like nomenclature for lower budgets, not truly independent, and I don't know,
even a style.
Yeah. Now, is that right or wrong? I don't know. You got a problem with Dave the Diver being on the list? Hunter, I'll go with you, Hunter. First.
Yeah.
I love David Diver. I mean, I don't know. I see. My problem is, I've only really played Dredge out of this list.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I like that to win because I like Dredge. Like, but none of these are really my style of game, other than like the one I played.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a strong list, but it's a tough year to make time for indies or to burst through the noise if you're an indie, because just the AAA was so strong. Go ahead.
This is a year like, because usually every year, so I'm a big fan of the Game Awards. I watch it every year. I've watched it since like, I don't know, 2011 or 2013. And it seems like almost every year there's always just like a random indie game. I say random, but like an indie game that makes its way into Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And I always, like, I appreciate that, but I'm also like, it kind of spoils who's going to win the best indie game category when you put it in a game every year,
True.
So this was like the first year that I'm like, wow, we finally don't have a Hades, a Celeste, an Inside in here.
Stray.
And a Stray, yeah, exactly. But the Dave the Diver thing, I don't know, man. It's just one of those situations where, to me, the definition of what is an indie or AA game has gotten so just hard to know. I don't want to say misconstrued it. It's like, no, it's just hard for us to define what that is now. I feel like we can all have all these different definitions, but there isn't like a firm, this is the answer now. Mm-hmm. And Dave the Diver really stretches that one out. So I don't know, but I will say I'm well aware of all 5 of these games. And I haven't played all of them, but I'm super well aware of them. And I'm obviously like I was thrilled to see Cocoon here because I'm so in love with that game and what it was doing. But I legit have respect for all 5 of these games. Like, even though Dave the Diver has controversy behind it, it's still a great game. But yeah,
I don't think anybody's saying it's not a good game or anything. Like,
right,
it got reviewed through the roof and has a lot. I hear a lot of chatter of it just on Twitter and stuff too. People like that game and it seems great. It's on my list. My list of stuff to play is getting so crazy. I think everyone's is now at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
I think probably Sea of Stars has the best chance here. I know a lot of people were talking about it as if it might get it might be the indie pick for Game of the Year, which didn't happen, but I still think it has the best chance for best indie game.
Yeah.
And then debut indie, similar list: Cocoon and Dredge, both and Viewfinder, all on both lists. But then also Pizza Tower and Venba. I'm not
Pizza Tower, dude. Woo!
Speaking of maybe one that could have got best music and score, that Pizza Tower score is fantastic, or soundtrack, I guess. I would have liked to have seen Pizza Tower in more categories, to be honest with you. That's a fantastic game. Venba, I'm not super familiar with. Do you guys know Venba?
Family
I have
cooking.
no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's a family cooking thing. Like, this is another thing where I haven't played all these. I'm just well aware of, based off word of mouth stuff. And and I've seen the marketing for Venba. It looked like a good story game kind of a thing. So
I'm gonna group these two together just for a second because there's a lot to talk about here for best ongoing game and best community support. And I think I'm gonna make a separate YouTube short that kind of rants about this a little bit because I also love the Game Awards. I'm with you on that. But I think one nitpick I have about him here is that the nominating committee of gaming press doesn't do a great job in these two categories specifically, and it's in a way I can't blame them because like part of their job is they always have to be on the new thing, right? They always have to keep up with the new games. They can't really stay with a lot of these live service games at a time, and so it's always feels like the same 5 games, or at least maybe 4 of the 5 are nominated every year, whether they deserve it or not. Like, did Apex really have a great 2023? I don't think so.
I have no idea.
Honestly, I don't either, but maybe that's more what I'm based on. I don't hear anybody talking about Apex anymore. Not to say it's not popular. Of course it's popular, but like it doesn't feel on the hot streak that it used to be. And it feels like it's just getting nominated because, hey, this is what
it's
we
Apex.
know.
Yeah.
Like where, like, I think this year was a huge turnaround for both Halo Infinite and Darktide, Warhammer 40k Darktide. I would have liked to have seen those, especially for community support, maybe even more than Best Ongoing. Warframe feels like it should be on Best Ongoing. Sea of Thieves gets getting robbed for Best Ongoing for like 3 years now.
Super, yeah.
And Age of Empires. I don't know. I don't think this is these two categories. And by the way, well, I'll talk about Destiny in a second. But yeah, I don't think they do a great job with these two categories specifically. What do you say? I'll go to Hunter first.
Again, this is not a category I'm super well versed in the games of.
Yeah.
But like, to me, every year there is like it's a similar thing with Best Fighting Game. Like they'll shoehorn something in that's not really a fighting game, but it's there.
Sifu was last year.
Yeah, it's like, like I said, I'm not an expert on these, but it does feel to me like they were like, oh, I don't play these games, and these are ongoing games that I've heard of, so let's vote for these.
Yeah. What do you think, Keeps?
Yeah, you remembered the Keeps.
It's easier.
Here's the thing. Until there is a DLC category, I think any DLC expansions deserve to be an ongoing. That is my opinion. I don't I agree. as long as there isn't that category, it's like, where else would you put DLC? Do you just not acknowledge it? Right. So I think that easily warrants fitting an ongoing. So I personally feel Cyberpunk probably, at least to me, deserves to be in the ongoing area. Now, because the DLC was fantastic, but the community stuff, that's the part that is just a little bit confusing to me. And I'm with you about like just nominating like Fortnite, Final Fantasy 14, Apex every year kind of a thing. No Man's Sky as well. I think, was that in both or just community? I know that was in community.
Just community.
Okay, yeah. Which it's like, I'm not sure, but it sounds like, yeah, maybe that's warranted, but it just sometimes does feel like we nominate the same games every year, maybe justifiably, but sometimes it's really questionable. And it's like you already pointed out that this year I was super rooting for Infinite for community support. Maybe not ongoing, because a lot of these things, granted, maybe should have been in there from the start.
Sure.
But community support, it's like that game is literally, Halo Infinite is thriving because of its community and the tools that the community has. So it's like, yeah, I would have totally put that one in.
Yeah, and I mentioned a second ago that I'd get back to Destiny. Destiny laid off all their community people, and it's on community support. And that is just insane to me. Even Liana Rupert, who was one of the community people who lost her job there, was just like laughing at Twitter. Boy, I would like to see Remnant 2 in community support as well. Boy, I loved that game. Yeah, and I don't even know if I read these off at all, but ongoing is Apex, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy, Fortnite, and Genshin. And then community support is Baldur's Gate, Cyberpunk, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, not 16, and No Man's Sky.
Cyberpunk to me is also weird because they're not working on it anymore. They're making Cyberpunk 2 now.
Right. Like, I actually didn't notice.
Was that in community support though?
I was about to say I didn't notice Cyberpunk's in both. I thought it was just on.
Yeah, it's weird.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, it's very strange.
I did not notice that until I just read that out.
See, and that tells me that like a lot of the votings for these, I don't know, it just kind of like people kind of put them together. You know, but it's like, they're a little bit different. Even though I admit I struggle with different certain things between the two as well. Right. But it's like, no.
I don't know if when he sends out the official ballots out to these outlets, I don't know if there's more description to these. I don't have his website up here. I'm reading these off Wikipedia. But yeah, I agree. They do just feel like, actually, how many games are repeated here in both lists? Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk. All right, so 2. Yeah, that bums
specifically
me out.
Final Fantasy 14. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should say that, not 16.
Yeah.
Mobile game, VR game. That's fine. Best action game. Armored Core. That's actually another one that a lot of people are upset was not Game of the Year. Is Armored Core 6. Dead Island 2. Ghost Runner 2.
Oh, God.
Hi-Fi Rush and Remnant 2. Yeah, Dead Island 2, like I know it's a good game, but it does stick out like a sore thumb here. I don't know if it's that good.
My literal reaction when I heard this was like, Dead Island 2's come a long way.
Yeah.
Holy crap, really? You're going to nominate Dead Island 2 over Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah.
What?
Well, Final Fantasy, they put in a role playing. I don't know if you can get nominated in 2 of these genre awards.
You totally can.
Oh, you can?
Totally.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but maybe people felt bad about doing it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's the biggest snub to me in this category is Final Fantasy 16. Easily should have been in this category for sure.
Yeah.
Seeing Dead Island 2 in this category makes me a little nauseous, not gonna lie. It does not make me feel good.
It's a better game than anybody expected it to be.
It is.
But
I won't take it away from
but
it.
I don't know
like
if
at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if it hangs here. Ghost Runner 2.
I think everything else is fair though.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ghost Runner 2.
I think everything else is pretty fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's fine. I won't argue with that. But Dead Island 2 is like, man.
I want to say though, did either of you try Ghost Runners 2? It was like a demo.
Yet.
Dude, I tried it. It is a great action game, but boy, is it tough. It is not beginner friendly. Like if you figure it out, you can pull off some of the most badass shit I think I've ever seen in a video game. But it is really difficult to pull it off.
The first game was real tough too. But I did like the first one a lot, so I'm sure I'm gonna like this one when I get to it. As much as I would like to see this go to either Hi-Fi or Remnant, it's probably gonna go to Armored Core, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think it's deserved.
Yeah, FromSoft's not my bag, but Armored Core does look fantastic.
It's cool as hell.
I love Remnant 2, so I really wish it would get some love somewhere here, but I don't think it's going to happen. Action adventure game: Alan Wake, Zelda, Spider-Man, RE4, and Jedi Survivor.
Yay to Jedi Survivor, dude. I was so worried that it was like I didn't think Jedi Survivor would get nominated for anything. I wasn't expecting that. And I think that game is great. I personally do. And this when I saw it nominated for action adventure, I'm like, dude, frick yeah. I just think it deserves to be there. And there's other things that could have been here too, Hogwarts Legacy and so on. Yeah. But I think Jedi Survivor, people were complaining about the technical problems that game had at launch, but when you look past it, because that's not the entirety of the game. That's not what the soundtrack is. That's not what the acting is. That's not what the story is. That's not what the combat is. That's not the progression. Blah, 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 blah. That's a part of it. And that game as a complete package was a great action adventure, I thought. And I'm not saying it'll win it, but I was like, great. I'm happy you got nominated in this specific category, because I don't know where else it would have fit, honestly. I really don't.
Yeah.
That and Dead Space Remake are 2 games where I feel like they got lost in a shuffle, and it's really depressing.
Did Dead Space get any nominations? I don't think it did.
Audio design. Okay. Audio design. I think so. Yeah. And and that's just because a lot of them you just think of the category. Sometimes, like we said, Final Fantasy and so on. Certain times it's a miss, but a lot of the times, this makes sense.
Yeah. All the other games in this category besides Jedi are Game of the Year nominees, so I don't think it has much of a chance. But it is good to it's good to see it get its flowers somewhere. Oh, and also it did also get the actor got in there for
Cameron Monaghan,
and role-playing game, this one also gets a little spicy because of are some of these role-playing or not? But Baldur's Gate, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield.
The only nomination Starfield got.
Yeah.
Which thank God, because it easily should be in the RPG category.
Not enough for Octopath, I guess.
Yeah.
That is crazy in itself.
I would have swapped out maybe Final Fantasy or Lies of P for Octopath, I think. Yeah.
I would have too, honestly.
Yeah, the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, Monster Hunter World's my favorite game of all time. That won Best RPG. That ain't no RPG. So, like, and Lies of P doesn't really seem like an RPG to me either. And Final Fantasy is like more based on, the history of the series. People are always going to call it an RPG. I don't know if I would call this one an RPG.
It just depends on like what you define as an RPG, because it's like, Is an RPG the narrative decisions you make affecting the story, or is it you being able to customize a character to play exactly the way that you want to play?
Right.
Like those are both elements that is you role playing. So in Lies of P, you do that. Like I'm currently playing that, and yeah, I have like a technique build that I'm doing. But Spider-Man's not an RPG because you could just kind of upgrade everything, and that's the path. But like I am specifically making a build in Lies of P, and in that vein, is Diablo 4 on this list?
No.
Nope.
Hey,
so
wow, I didn't think of that.
So in that vein, it's like if the combat is what makes an RPG, would that have been eligible? It's like it's hard. It's kind of like the indie thing. It's hard to like quantify what exactly is an RPG.
Yeah.
Personally, I would like to see Ishin on here, but
yeah.
I wish, but it had no chance.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely insane that Octopath is not on this list.
Yeah, that is also one I look at. I'm like, what is going on?
I guess just people didn't play it. Honestly, like, is that still only on Switch, or did they put that on PC?
I think it's on PC. I remember being able to pre-order it on PC.
Wow.
What would you have swapped out for Octopath?
That's a good question, honestly. I gotta go Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
That's a game, you talked about that on this show, as your path through it, and your first week you were loving that game, and then
second week I got to the point where it became a hard Final Fantasy game, which is weird for me because I love Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is when it becomes an actual Final Fantasy game. That's when that game starts to take a turn.
Fighting game, God of Rock. I don't know God of Rock. So that's a new one on me. I looked it up actually when I read this, when I saw this list. It's like a rhythm fighting game, and it seems kind of neat. But there you go. MK1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, barely making the cutoff of release there. Pocket Bravery and Street Fighter 6. I'm happy to see Pocket Bravery mentioned here, but this is Street Fighters, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
I mean, at the least, this is just the competition between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. That at the least we can establish. But yeah, Street Fighter 6, I've heard so much fantastic things. That's literally like one of the highest rated games of the year. So
that's actually another one that wouldn't be out of place on the Game of the Year list. But just it's a genre thing.
Yep.
I'll skip that one, but I will do best sim strategy because I think this is actually a more stacked list than usually is. Advanced.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Advance Wars 1+2, City Skylines, Company of Heroes, Fire Emblem Engage, and my boy, and I know your boy too, Pikmin 4.
Yes,
Pikmin 4. I haven't finished it yet, but I love that friggin' game a lot.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like this actually of all years, because this category sim strategy, it's always weird to me. It's kind of always weird, especially them mixing the two. But this year, it actually kind of feels like this actually looks like appropriate. Like I pulled it up on screen, just looking at the art of all these and what's nominated, and this actually looks like this is legit. Yeah, all these totally qualify. They all make sense, and I always love seeing a category. Like, we're just debating about what's RPG, but this felt super appropriate. But yes, I'm super happy to see Pikmin 4 here because it's like I was saying earlier, you can't just nominate a game because you want it nominated for things. Like when everybody says like Hogwarts Legacy got robbed, it's like, well, think of the categories though. And that's the way that it's like, did it actually get robbed? But Pikmin 4, I didn't expect to be in any of the categories, even though it's a very well-reviewed game, but it's like, what would it be nominated for? And I thought, other than family, I'm like, one shot is strategy, and it got in.
It did also get nominated, as you mentioned. It did get nominated for Best Family. We skipped over that category, but we should mention Pikmin's in there. Pikmin is in my... Well, I mean, there's still some more stuff I want to play, but right now it's in my top 5 of the year. I wouldn't have been upset if it was in the Game of the Year list, but that was never going to happen, especially with 2 other Nintendo games already there. But it's, in terms of quality, it belongs on that. It's in that tier for sure. And Fire Emblem, I'm a huge fan of the series Fire Emblem. Engage didn't hit as hard as the last one. It's still good, but the last one was significantly better to me. Multiplayer, Baldur's Gate, Diablo, which I think is the only... also, Diablo got accessibility. All right, so not the only thing for Diablo, but Baldur's Gate, Diablo, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Wonder.
Is it kind of wild that Super Mario Wonder's on this?
I've heard people say that, and I think it belongs. I think, and maybe I have low expectations because it's Nintendo and the online stuff is not their forte usually, but I think it does unique things, even when you're not necessarily meaning to play with somebody, how it has their ghosts around. And what it feels like to me, and I think it was Jeff Gerstmann, I think, said this first, it feels like the evolution of when we used to have those playground chats with your friends in school and say, hey, did you know you could do this on this game? And you'd say, bullshit.
Right.
But you can leave markers on hidden areas, right? And kind of help people to get there. It doesn't necessarily give away the secret, but it's kind of like a natural hint toward things. And I just think that is such a cool way to do passive multiplayer. And then also there's the active multiplayer. That's a good way of phrasing it,
passive multiplayer. Yeah.
There's also the active multiplayer. If you just want to play with your buddy and race him, that's a lot of fun too. But the passive stuff is more unique for me. And
it's like it has a presence. That's what it is. It has a presence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Party Animals on this list. I wasn't as in love with Party Animals as I wanted to be. I was really looking forward to it, and
how dare you?
I know. Like,
how dare you?
It's not fun. Like, it's not it's just, obviously, it needs to kind of, I don't want to say bad controls, but sort of. But it almost felt like too bad to me. I don't know. I just wanted
it's absolutely derpy. Every time I play that game, like I was pretty excited to actually see it not like it actually got some love, like it's in Family and this, and I feel like I don't remember. I don't think it was in
Family. You're right.
Yeah, it's in Family. And to me, it's just always a good time. There's no competitive element to it because, like you said, the controls are dog poo poo. Like they are just poo poo, but it's almost like that's the point of it, and that's why we're not nominating it for anything else. It got nominated for best multiplayer because it's like the party game of the year. That's what it is. So, yeah, but definitely doesn't play better than these others. But
no. I mean,
maybe that's not the goal of it.
It's funny. Like Street Fighter has like the most snappy controls imaginable, and Party Animals has the least snappy controls imaginable.
Yeah.
Head up here. Baldur's Gate, I like. I mean, of course, look, I just love the game in general, but I like being in this category because it is the way it accommodates. If 4 people want to play together and they don't necessarily have to have the same motivations. In other words, we can be playing together and I could be doing a total good guy run, making all the good guy choices, and you could be making all the bad guy choices, and like the game accommodates for that. And I just think,
wow, that's cool. I haven't played it, so I'm learning this. That's really cool.
It's really neat. Now, I actually haven't done... I played it on PC solo. When it comes to Xbox, I got a group of 4 that are already going to get playing. There have been CRPGs that have messed with that idea in the mind, like Wasteland 3, but that's only 2 players, but still same idea. But this one, I feel, does it the best. It's a really neat thing. It is, though, the tough thing about a game like this with co-op is you want to... It's not a dip in, dip out. You want to have a group that sticks with it and sticks to a schedule.
Committed.
Which is tough. Yes.
Yeah. That is the Dungeons and Dragons experience.
Exactly.
Too. Like,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, for as far as what is actually going to win, is a real tough one for me, though. I think it may end up going to Diablo just for the sake of like people might think, well, we didn't vote for it anywhere else. But even that, like, it still feels weird to me. Even when now that I say that out loud, I don't like that idea as much.
I think Street Fighter 6 probably. I just feel like that. Yeah.
I'd like to see it be Street Fighter. Hunter, have you played Street Fighter Online? Is the netcode holding up on that? Do you know?
From what I briefly played, it's pretty good.
Okay.
And that lobby system is so good that it kind of makes me wish it wins.
Yeah. That's the main thing I hear. It's like got one of the best lobby systems ever, and I watch a friend play it a lot. So yeah.
Best adaptation. This is just kind of a
Last of Us. Let's move on.
Yeah, I would love it to be Twisted Metal, but it's not gonna be.
It's gonna be Last of Us.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no way.
And then finally, because we're not going to do the esports one, but we can mention most anticipated game, FF7 Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. This list felt weird to me when I first saw it, but I'm trying to think of other games for next year, and like I guess I can't really think of anything else that isn't necessarily here. Maybe Hellblade, but I don't think that's...
that's what I mean. Like I saw these, and these all feel like these all make sense. They just all, this makes sense. I knew for sure Rebirth would be on there, no doubt. But the rest I wasn't sure about. I'm like, these are all mainstream, and that makes sense. Yeah.
And I think Rebirth will probably win. For me, mine is Hades 2, but...
Yeah.
All right. That is the... How do you feel about the overall list? Like, I think it's pretty strong. I have some nitpicks. We just talked about them, but I like the Game Awards. I don't take it ultra seriously. To me, it's like the MTV Movie Awards more than the Oscars. And I love the reveals. I think Jeff does a great job of the show overall. So I have nitpicks. I have qualms, but I feel pretty good about it overall. And when people get too upset, I always remind them this is the award show that picked Last of Us 2 over Hades, so don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
And then my controversial take I put out there was like, Last of Us 2 totally deserved it.
It's not even about not liking Last of Us 2. I just think Hades is so damn perfect. I love that game.
Yeah. And I was glad it was nominated that year, for sure, because it's like I said, that was the whole indie thing I said before. Hades was that. Like there's always some indie game that makes their way into Game of the Year. This is like the first year that hasn't happened. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think overall I was pretty happy with the nominees. Like literally the only things that like bugged me in any way was just FF16 not being an Action and Infinite in Community. And like there's other things, but it's like and everybody kind of complaining about Starfield like I just go to, sure, there's maybe Xbox tax, whatever, but the thing is that the reviews for that game just didn't compare to so many other games above it, and it's like, is it a bad game? No, it's a really good game, borderline great game, but but the criticisms that were on it were legit, and
I think it would have gotten nominated many years, but.
This year, it was
this year
exactly too many good games.
This year, it's like the whole RE4 thing we said. It's like, that totally deserves to be eligible to be nominated, but it just feels weird that you picked it this year, kind of a thing. Yep. That's the situation, and when I think of that, a lot of these categories make me happy. I'm looking forward to it. I love it.
Should we talk about the Xbox tax at all? To me, like, I don't, if people don't know, there's a lot of anger online, mostly about Starfield, and people saying that, hey, Xbox games get reviewed on different scale and everything. And I do think there's I think there's maybe higher standards for Xbox, but like if you look at the review scores, most of them, but with the exception of there's some Redfalls and there's some Minecraft Legends, but like the review scores do well usually. I do think maybe in award shows like this, they sometimes get overlooked more because of genre than the console. Like Forza Horizon 5 is a game of the year quality game, but it's a racing game. That's just not going to happen. Like Street Fighter we talked about, that's a game of the year quality game, but it's fighting game, not going to happen. And
Pentiment and Microsoft Flight Sim. Both reviewed like 10 out of 10's places, but yep.
Exactly. And the kind of games that Sony makes, even though most of them, that genre's not really my cup of tea. And not all Game of the Year nominees are that genre, but I think that genre does have a leg up. I think if you're a narrative, cinematic, third-person single-player game, you do have an advantage. It's not a guarantee, but it's an advantage. And Microsoft doesn't make many of those.
Hunter had a thought. It looked like he wanted to talk.
So I think people forget that the beginning of this year was pretty rough for Xbox. Honestly, it was not a good time when Redfall was coming out. I think people need to be more patient with them when it comes to like their releases, because they are turning things around. It's a big ship. It's not going to turn on a dime.
Yeah.
There's going to be Starfields, and I'll be honest, there's probably going to be a few bad games too along the way. It's just the way it is. This isn't Sony's. They don't have that sort of clout that they have. So it's going to take a minute for them to get to that level, I think.
Something that's happened with them is, I need to look up if this word is appropriate, but a stigmatism or something, where folks have kind of, and maybe this is the Xbox tax, but I think that there's this mental image that's kind of been engraved in the Xbox brand that's kind of made a bit more critical eye happen to them, kind of a thing. And I appreciate earlier, you mentioned like Hi-Fi Rush, in my opinion, deserves to be more recognized than Starfield for potentially Game of the Year. And yeah, because Hi-Fi Rush was the highest reviewed Xbox game this year. And super well deserved, because that game kicked ass. Like when you said the beginning of the year for Xbox wasn't that good, I'm like, what are you talking about? They kicked off with Hi-Fi Rush and that developer direct. It was dope. Yeah. But the more towards the middle of the year. Yeah.
It was a bad summer.
But but sure, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's essentially like, I did a whole video about this, not to plug it in, but after Redfall came out, because I thought it was so fascinating that everybody was making like the biggest deal in the world about it. This is what Xbox does with every single one of their releases that they've ever done. And I'm just like, let's look into this. Yeah. And literally in the video, you could go watch it, but I'm like, okay, here's the list of every single Xbox Game Studios game, and let's just include Bethesda after they were purchased. Like, here's all the games that they released the past 3 years. And there's literally like, I think like 3 fair scores and 1 bad out of like 18 games. Those other like 14 were either good/really good to great/fantastic. So it's like, I don't know where that narrative comes from, and I feel like it's that mental image that's been placed, and it's mostly because you are not nominated for Game of the Year and you don't have a must-play score on Metacritic. Right. And because of that, we're more critical on you. Yeah. Your games are good, but they're not masterpieces. That's what it is.
And they're not, I don't know, they're not Hollywood style, I guess.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
The issue, like I said, I think it goes back to the idea that this is such a big ship for them now. It's going to take a minute for them to turn it around.
And next year is looking pretty good for them, I think.
It does. It honestly, like, if like Fable and all this stuff actually hit,
I don't think Fable's coming next year.
Well, you know what I mean, but like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Microsoft 24, Hellblade, Avowed, and Towerborn. Those are the 4 so far.
Yeah, those are the. Yeah. And I think honestly, out of all of them, those are the ones that I'm like, yep, that's probably going to be the ones that hit, like the biggest.
Towerborn is like one of we've talked on the show a million times. I love co-op games. That's my bread and butter. So Towerborn is like, I'm jonesing for that one. That's one of my most anticipated games of next year. Yeah.
I don't think this tax is going to go away. This tax or whatever phrase you want to say. I think no matter what, it doesn't, like, they would literally have to get 5 Game of the Years in a row and have 2 years that they have like at least 1 or 2 must-play games. It's like it would have to be not just a one-time thing. It would have to be continuous. And because of that, when people keep holding these high expectations for every single release they do, it's like, this has to be the one, man. No, it isn't. You're gonna say that even if this is the one. You're gonna say that about the next one and the next one, and you're just not gonna have realistic expectations. Like that's just not what's gonna happen. So
there's a lot of people out there, especially on Twitter and Reset Era. And I know I should not look at Reset Era. I can't help myself. It's terrible, but I can't help myself. And even I think some within the media who don't want Xbox to be good. Yeah, they're just always gonna have that perception. It's self-fulfilling prophecy to them.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way to put it. Yep.
But hey, I'm looking at Game Pass and I'm not running out of stuff to play by any means.
I'm not either, honestly.
I made a great meme about it. Yeah. Yeah.